statistics, we have about 1,400 people, of which 415 are here. And this building will hold up to about 615. So as you start multiplying out buildings, you can see what that does for jobs and for work in the city. Second role, as you mentioned, the fiber. A few years ago, I felt I needed fiber in this area for my business. I'm a software business. So with an agreement with the city, we actually ran fiber through city conduits, a very cost-effective way to do it. So San Leandro became one of the few cities in the Bay Area that has their own fiber loop that goes around the city. Third role is that I'm half the development of this project. Sunny is the Westlake, and then we are the other half of it. So I have many roles, and so I might switch back and forth between them as I say a few words. So what we do is that we are basically, you mentioned advanced manufacturing. We're basically in the business of building data infrastructure. So mostly when people ask me what we do, I say look for a smokestack, and we probably have systems there. Power companies, water waste treatment plants, data centers, sometimes chemical plants, pharmaceuticals, mining, you name it, and that's probably what we do. We are about slight minority owned by SoftBank and Mitsui, but the rest of it we hold majority privately. What we're doing today that would be probably of most interest to the city is because we have systems in the prevalent power companies, PG&E, California ISO, Silicon Valley Power, most of the power companies around, we are working toward how power can be, the cost of power can be reduced within the city. And one of the ways to do that is to use computers to control how the peaks and valleys occur rather than using other power plants. And I just ask you to consider which would be easier and cheaper to build a new power plant in the middle of the Bay Area, or put in computer systems that better manage the power usage throughout the different clients. We have worked with Zip Power. There are several elements of this. Zip Power is the entity that builds the marketplace for it. We're also working with Sempra, the company that owns San Diego Gas and Electric, and they're building the base community controller that is actually doing this work. We are simply doing the data monitoring, which is what we've always done. So that's just a few minutes on what we do. We're pleased to be here. I've lived in San Leandro since 1974. I guess we bought in 74. We moved in early 75, so a long time ago. And I'm pleased to have contributed to San Leandro and how it operates. Ever have any questions on the company or how we operate? Always glad to respond to you. And thank you very much for your time. Yes, sir.
In Emeryville, we have a lot of biotech with their roofs littered with equipment. They have no rooms for solar power. Adjacent buildings, empty old warehouses, lots of roof space. A potential deal with PG&E. Look, we could make this commercial next door parcel generate power to our solar, to our biotech companies. Nothing to do with the grid. Would your company be interested in monitoring this kind of electric use?
Interesting questions. The question, for those that didn't hear, is he has industrial sites, but they don't have the space for the solar, but adjacent sites, which could be warehouses, they do have space, but they don't have the loads. How do these go together? This is what I'm talking about with smart cities. The way a smart city works is that you have controls on the individual sites. And these controls, there's a lot of power resources out there. There's not only solar, there's wind, there's EV chargers, there's flywheels, there's fuel cells. batteries, all of these enter into the equation. And then those have to be managed by a centralized controller. And that's what Sempra is working on. They've already installed it in the HECO wind farm in Hawaii, and they're putting it on their own building right now. We would have a role, but what you're looking for in that case is somebody that's more power oriented that would take on the responsibility. An interesting aside, and I'm at the very fringes of my knowledge here, one of the issues in doing that is that you can't cross a public right-of-way unless you're a utility. I think the East Bay is about to become a utility. So the question is, what does the CCA do for you in that sense? And I don't know the answer to that. But it's certainly, when you talk about it in a smart city, getting the cost of power down and making the load balance is one of the big deals. Okay, thank you very much.